welcome to the Starting Pixel podcast, the place where we make sense of new technology shaping media and entertainment. I'm Rob Chandler, ex-Big Tech Marketing Director, now Virtual Production Supervisor.
And I am Michelle Bonald, actor, screenwriter and director. So today, who are we talking to?
So we're going to talk to Gianni, a really interesting guy based in Berlin. He's a camera assistant, but the reason why we're talking about him is he created a short with a behind the scenes short, and we'll put a link in the show notes a bit later on, and it went viral and he used virtual production for it. So what we thought we'd do is get him on and do a breakdown and see where we went from that, really see what he see how it all works.
Amazing. I'm very excited.
What have you been up to this week?
This week, I did a day's filming on an Apple show, which I don't think I'm allowed to talk about yet. So that was wonderful. Tell me what you've been up to.
So 2 weeks ago, I was at ISE, which is a big conference in Barcelona to do with systems integration. And so a lot of LED wall manufacturers are there and video processors and such likes. What we do with events like that, normally for Starting Pixel, we'll have a meetup, which we call an after party.
Nice.
But that was great. Last year we had 15 people. This year we had about 150 people. So that was very exciting.
Significantly more fun.
Significantly, right. And more fun, exactly. And the great thing was that the lovely people at Megapixel picked up the tab. So it was even more fun.
I wish I was there.
Yeah, next time. So I went to a BFI and Screen Skills roundtable last week, which was just looking really at how to understand the working relationship between virtual production and traditional film and TV departments, which is a bit like what we're trying to do on the podcast as well, and sort of what support for education that they can help as well with new entrants or with professional training. So that's really important, and some great things came out of that. Maybe we'll have a catch up about that. Might get them on the podcast so we can grill them a bit more. But there was lots of educationalists, VP studios, industry bodies, VP supers, DOPs, and crew kind of stuff. Then there was the IBC Accelerator Kickstarter at the BBC. So I spent a full day in the Radio Theatre. If anyone's ever been to BBC Centre, which was very exciting.
What does IBC stand for?
I think it's the International Broadcasting, I'm going to say Society, but I'm pretty sure it's not society. It might be.
Convention?
So it's a massive convention in September, about 50,000 people. And they do a Kickstarter, which is really to try and get innovation projects for the industries up and running pretty quickly. So they talk about 5G and cloud-based rendering and all sorts of things. And they've got some really, really good projects on that. So if anyone wants any info on that, they can Google IBC. Innovation projects or accelerators, and I think we're going to get them also on the podcast soon as well, which would be nice. Sorry, this is really long. So BSc,
it's good. There are so many acronyms. I have to say, the thing about virtual production that I have found just in general is that there are so many acronyms, and I spend most of my time going, I'm sorry, what does that stand for? And people within the space, they kind of, BSc, ISE, everybody knows it. And once you know it, you know it. But when you don't, it's good to dig
I used to work for Microsoft, and they still have a glossary of all of the acronyms that you need to know in order to navigate the company. And most big tech companies have that because it is so acronym heavy.
I feel like we should put a little glossary of words on the Starting Pixel website.
Could do. There is actually a VP. There is a VP glossary, I think, which we can put in the link. Yeah, there is. Which is very cool. What I want to do at some point is actually just to flick it like a page, flick it like a book, and then just find something to talk about. I think that'd be quite good fun.
It'd be fun. Nice.
Anyway, so that was that. BSc, so that's another acronym. British Society of Cinematographers.
I know that one. Right. Yeah.
So we had another after party at that because everyone loves an after party.
Mm-hmm.
The great thing about that is that we literally just turned up to a local pub, and Blackmagic were having a sort of demo for a new camera that they've got upstairs, and the entire virtual production Starting Pixel crew, 20 odd people, ended up going upstairs. So that was very good. So it was incredibly generous of Blackmagic not to kick us out, for sure. And, everyone knew each other anyway. So it was
very
great
nice
cross-pollination. So that was really good. And and hopefully Blackmagic is going to be coming on the podcast at some point at a time as well. Had a chat with them. So you must come on the podcast.
Nice.
And then the last thing I sort of done was Film Soho. So this week, Film Soho, which is a film, well, it's actually just it's a film studio, but they've got post-production, they do voiceovers, and what's that three-letter acronym for voiceovers? I can't remember what it's called now.
Don't know.
Anyway, other people know what it is. They do that. Anyway, so they've set up a bijou, modest but perfectly formed VP LED wall in there, which is great. So it's a bit of a soft launch. Assimilate.
That's the other thing I was doing this week. I was doing some voiceover and ADR for...
ADR, there you go. That's the acronym.
Yeah. Is that what you were talking about? Yeah, ADR. Right, ADR. So I was doing ADR on a series called May Grey, or May Grey. I don't know how to pronounce that one, which is out next year. But I love a bit of ADR, popping into a studio and doing your voiceover work. So you went to Film Soho's launch.
Film Soho, it was a really soft launch. Aperture, who do lighting, and Assimilate, who do image-based lighting, sort of sponsoring the beer and pizza, and a bunch of Starting Pixel people went, as well as quite a few DOPs as well. Amazing. So we're going to try and also get Chris Bouchard, who is their resident VP supervisor.
I have to say, I've met Chris Bouchard. I love Chris Bouchard. He is...
Everyone loves him.
Everyone loves him. He's also a really wonderful teacher. Really, he breaks things down really, really simply. So it'd be great to get him on the podcast talking about what
he really does. And he's sort of talking about that and actually is really, really good at breaking. So we absolutely must get him on. So our guest this week is Gianni Piechota, a Berlin-based first camera assistant, gaffer, lighting tech on commercial shoots, music videos and feature films. However, since 2022, John has been working with virtual production, learning his craft from the bottom up, testing, trialing, failing, and solving technical and artistic challenges. And this year, he posted a BTS of a music short, like an ultra short, shot using virtual production, which went viral. 100,000 views, I think he told me a bit earlier on today. So we're going to be talking today about how Gianni made it with his crew. So welcome, Gianni.
Hello.
Welcome. Hello.
Thanks for having me.
Thanks for joining us. It's really nice to meet you. I was one of the 100,000 views, possibly watched it 3 or 4 times.
Right.
But yeah, welcome.
We're going to show a bit of video of throughout the podcast, or vodcast as they like to share again, but we'll post some links in as well to the to it so people can see it, because obviously if it's audio only, you're going to have to go and find it. So kick off with, tell us a little bit about a short summary of you, your journey, how you got to do what you sort of started doing in filmmaking, and then how you evolved into virtual production.
Yeah, so the starting is like it's hard to explain because it like started, ended again. But I think like the real root point was I don't know, in the childhood, where I got the old mini DV camcorder of my family and started messing around with Legos, doing some stop motion videos.
I love that.
Yeah, unfortunately, I got scammed by. I wanted to sell the camera, and then I got scammed, so I didn't even get money for the camera. And yeah, then the tapes, everything was gone.
No.
It's a heartbreaking story.
How old were you when you tried to sell the camera and got scammed? Tell me about that.
I think it was like when I was 14, maybe.
Oh.
Yeah, until today. I wanted to see them, the old videos.
What were they like, those videos?
Yeah, so it was not really made for stop motion. Like there are some cameras where you can like hit the record button and you have like one frame that it records. And this camera didn't have it, so you always had to like press play and stop, and always move like a little bit.
Amazing.
Also, I tried to like talking and also doing some background music. It was like I had my MP3 player and I pressed stop, play and stop simultaneously. It didn't really work out.
But it was interesting that you were starting to play around with ways of using technology to try and, I guess, tell a story as well, right? It's like, what can I do if I try this kind of thing?
Yeah. It was much experimenting. Yeah, so that was like the time where I recorded my first stories. Yeah, from there it like ended for a few years till I started skateboarding and recording skate videos. Then I ended up filming videos for a skate shop. Yeah, like editing and stuff. So before that, it was like I didn't really edit anything, you know. I started editing with skate videos, which is not really unusual, I think. Many people start with skate videos when they end up.
It's a hard thing to start with, though, isn't it? Kind of that movement and capturing the movement and working out where to cut. It's a challenging place to start.
Yeah. From there, I did my education as a media assistant, technical media assistant. That means I learned like the basics of programming, electrotechnic, so electrician tech.
Right.
I don't know what it's
like.
Programming and stuff, network, physics, all that kind of stuff. I decided not to go to the university because I was convinced that the internet teaches enough nowadays.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah, and it turned out to be true. Like, I mean, from there, I shot a few music videos, ended up in commercials, and working as a camera assistant for movies, some television stuff. Yeah, and now I'm still working as camera assistant, gaffer sometimes DOP, like from here and there, kind of an all-rounder. Yeah.
What was your first interaction with like virtual production? What was how did you move? What did you know? There's a big gap. You know, there's a big technology gap. How did that manifest?
It is, yeah.
How did that happen?
Yeah, I was doing some work for a esports company, doing creative producer, and to plan out the shots and give the client some shot lists. I started with, what's the name? Cinetracer. It's Cinetracer, program based on Unreal Engine, where you have virtual cameras, virtual actors, and you can build your set, your lighting, and do some kind of shot list. I think you can even film stuff in there, but I think it never... Cinetracer, yeah. But amazing. I think it never was finished. I think it's still in the beta.
Okay.
So from there I learned, got to know Unreal Engine. And the biggest aha moment was when we needed like a big industrial building, which we found. And the idea was like to set it up with plants and moss so it looks abandoned, which ended up like costing, I think, 14,000 euros only for the plants and to set up the decorations. Also like 10,000 for the location itself. And that was the moment where I thought like, can't be the way. Like especially for esports, you have the people forgive you more that it's not the most realistic environment,
right.
You know?
Yeah.
Yeah, that was the moment where I thought maybe it's possible to save money by doing it virtually.
And did you do that virtually? Or did you, in that occasion, did you hire the location and spend the 14,000?
We hired the location.
But you kind of saw that gap there and thought,
right.
There's a possibility we don't need to spend £14,000 on plants.
Right. Yeah. It sounds crazy, right?
No,
like
I mean
shooting days. It's crazy.
It doesn't. You know, we've talked quite a lot about the kind of the environmental impact of certain things and certain ways of shooting and how you kind of get down shooting budgets and shooting days. But that's a great example.
And you don't know what you don't know. Yeah. If you're an inquisitive person, right, and happen to go down a path that you find yourself going, hold on a minute, I can do this, surely. If you don't go down that route, you sort of don't go down that route. That's brilliant. Okay, so thank you. I think what we're going to do now is just go for a quick break, hear from our sponsors, and then we'll come back and we are going to talk about actually what you've been up to, right?
Amazing.
So here's from our sponsors. This episode is brought to you by More Than Wolf. Not sure where to start? How big a stage do you actually need? What about driving plates? Do you even need them? Is Unreal Engine necessary? Wait, what is Unreal Engine? You're thinking about virtual location scouting, but should you? How much is this all going to cost? And the big one, am I about to wreck my career by going the virtual production route? Yeah, there's lots of questions, and guessing your way through virtual production isn't the answer. That's where More Than Wolf comes in. We're an independent virtual production supervision studio, here to guide you from cradle to grave, whether you're just dipping your toes into VP or knee-deep in LED walls and camera tracking. We make sure you get exactly what you need. No overspending, no mishaps, just the right solution for your production. So if you need someone in your corner choose Modern Wolf. Visit modernwolf.com to find out more. Modern Wolf. Why film it any other way? Welcome back from our sponsors. Hello. Side joke. That was me trying that for the first time. So I've got 3 questions. One of them you've pretty much answered. Sorry, Michelle, I can't remember if you were going to do this or
no,
I was
you were. No, it's all good. You were going to do this one.
All right,
yeah.
Then. Cool. Okay. So we've got 3 questions that we ask everyone. All of our guests get asked these questions in as few words as possible. And I know this isn't easy, right? Literally, this is why it's tough. It's why I like to ask it. In as few words as possible, explain virtual production.
Yeah, and I knew that question would be coming.
Yeah.
So I prepared it. I spent some evenings thinking about it. So virtual production is a production process that lets you combine real elements with virtual elements like backgrounds. And yeah, the real-time aspect is like the biggest, is the key in virtual production. That's the short answer.
Right. Tell me what you mean by the real-time aspect.
Yeah, thank you that you are asking. The real-time aspect is like the Ergebnis, or what you end up with, isn't new. Like we had it in Star Wars, fake things in real environments or the other way around. What's interesting about virtual production is that everything happens on set, or it could at least it could happen on set. That means you have 2 possibilities. Biggest, what everybody knows who knows virtual production, is the in-camera video effects. Visual effects means you have the background already on set. That means you have a big LED wall and you see what you end up with in real time. So you have your virtual environment already shot in the camera. That means no post-production is necessary. Yeah, and the second one would be shooting it in front of green screen. It's possible as well to have it in full quality in real time, meaning you do the keying of the green screen and then you have to put in the background and you can see that on your monitor already.
Yeah. What was the next thing that you did what was the next thing that you did using virtual production? Because that was the aha moment. But then where did you go?
All right, so it's the moment where I finally understand what it's about, or
yeah.
Okay. I don't know if it was a moment actually, because I mean, you have the internet, right? So you see like every small step of technology involvement. You see it, instantly. You see every small step. It's not like a big moment for me, but I can tell you what was the moment that I thought about the most when hearing the question, right? It was the moment where I finally got my trackers running, because it's a process as well, depending on which tracker you have. And I remember like the first moment having the tracker in my hand, moving it and seeing it on the computer, that the virtual camera moves. Like that was like the biggest.
Tell me about that tracker, like beat for beat. Talk to me like I don't understand anything. There are some things I do understand and there are lots of things I don't. So if I am a complete novice in this space and I come from a world of like high-end TV, but we're not using, or independent film or short film where we're not using any of that stuff, we're just using real locations. What is a tracker? How did you have that in your hand? What's going on?
Okay, maybe I start with the problem. So the problem with virtual environments and real things is, if you want to put something into a virtual environment, you have to know the exact position of the camera. So it's not a problem if you are not working in real time. Then you can like shoot everything and run it in After Effects or in DaVinci and track the scene. That means you look at certain points in the image and the program understands how the camera was moving on set. Yeah, but if you want to do it real time, you have to have a tracker. There are different ways of tracker, optically trackers, like a phone could be a tracker as well. So it's a camera lens. But I'm using infrared-based tracking. And that means you have lighthouses in every corner of the studio. And then you have a kind of a receiver. And the lighthouses shoot lights in different frequencies onto the tracker. And so the tracker knows where it is.
Where it is.
If it rotates, it knows that it's rotating. Yeah, those trackers are used, for example, in virtual reality headsets or like joysticks for virtual reality. Yeah. And with that data of the tracker, you shoot it into the PC in real time, and then the virtual camera that shoots the virtual environment knows where it is. Yeah.
Amazing. Great.
Good to know.
So when you had that in your hand for the first time, there was a kind of sense that, oh my goodness, I can work in a slightly different way.
Yeah. I mean, it's so cool if it really happens in real time. There's zero latency. Yeah, it was a nice feeling.
It's one of the most gleeful things, most pleasing things about virtual production is when someone walks into a virtual production studio and sees that image for the first time on a monitor, whether it's green screen or LED, doesn't sort of matter, but the monitor of what's going in as the camera feed, and then someone does a camera movement, and you can see it's almost like an 8-year-old on Christmas morning coming down. Right? You've seen it, right? It's literally this, and it's instant that they get it. They go, okay, wow, okay, I get this, and it's instant. But it's so tough to try and verbally show that to someone, which I think is one of the brilliant things about your actually what you posted as well. I think. So was there an? Oh yeah, I know. The last question actually was the misconceptions of what virtual production might have. What have you come across that you think is the biggest misconception?
Yeah, every time I'm talking to people about it, not every time, but pretty often, they think it's artificial intelligence.
Okay. Wow.
Right. Got you. Interesting.
Oh, that's interesting. I've not heard that one before.
Yeah.
Lucky you.
Wow, so that's cool.
That's cool. So what do they think is happening with artificial intelligence?
Yeah, I think they just think that you put some prompts in and you generate the images and the videos. I mean, I think it's the future. It might happen that. So.
Yeah. No, that kind of makes sense, doesn't it? And actually, if you don't understand how a computer games engine works, then that you could think that could just be done by artificial intelligence. But I've just tried creating one picture with artificial intelligence, and that's an interesting misconception. I've not heard that before. Interesting.
Right. So, I tell you what we're going to do now. We're half an hour in, which should have been like 20 minutes in, but that's fine. Don't worry. Podcasts are built for this. I'm going to play what you've posted, and you've had 100,000 views. What's the date?
Almost 300.
Nearly 300,000. I know. Yeah. Let's look at it. Right. Done. How cool is that?
So cool, so simple. So cool and so simple. But I want to know more about how you did it. So go from the top. So it was shot in green screen, right? Shot on green screen. And the spaces that she goes into. So she is first of all on a bench in a park. and then she goes into the nightclub. Those two locations, how did you create those locations?
Yeah, so the park is actually a free asset from the Unreal Engine marketplace.
Amazing.
And the nightclub was actually, we were talking about the industrial building before, right? Yeah, it is like I tested like the old location for the esports shoot with like an industrial building, so I already had the asset. So I just used the industrial building I had and set it up with tables, plants, a bar. And
people dancing.
And people dancing, which are actually the crew members.
Oh, so they're real people.
Yeah.
They're not Unreal Engine people. I was trying to genuinely. Right. I was from a beginner in the space. I was like, what's real and what's not. So there's a picture that Rob's pulled up at the moment, and that's you in the studio. But that's a.
It's the 25. So it's the top picture is of you is your talent, and then the bottom one is like a wide with the virtual camera in front.
That's the virtual camera, right? In front.
Right. Yeah. So there's a virtual camera in front, and then you can see, I guess, what the camera can see floating in front of the virtual camera. Ah, cool. So talk us through a little bit about that one.
So yeah, we have. Yeah, so I start maybe with the background people. Like we had some extra time that we used before the actor arrived. We used the time to shoot ourselves 5 minutes long, dancing to the music. Then I took like 10 seconds parts of it, exported some PNG files with transparent background. So it was on as well on green screen. And yeah, put these people, the dancing people
in the dancing people
in the background. So these are not 3D people. These are like 2D planes that we can position wherever we want.
Right. So they talk about this being like 2.5D, I think is sort of one of the technical terms, which is where you have 2D planes in different depths of field. So they go further away from you, which gives a little bit of parallax, if you know the term parallax. So that's cool. And then, so the bottom image there, you said that was from the marketplace in Unreal Engine? Or was that the one you'd built?
Right, yeah. So the location itself, like the industrial building, was from the marketplace. Yeah, all the lamps, the truss, the plants you can get from the marketplace. So everything except for the bar in the background was downloaded assets. But I built the bar in the background, for example.
So just so I guess in super simplistic terms, the marketplace is like an app store, but it's not apps, it's 3D assets, right?
Yes.
Right. And you buy them and you put them into your scene. Cool.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Right.
Gotcha. Cool. So what image? So we've gone halfway through it, actually. Where would you like to where's a good image to start talking it through? Have you got one that you'd like me to pull up?
Yeah, maybe we take, I think UE 1 or 2.
Is UE.
Yeah, so we have the virtual camera that has the exact position of the real camera in the real world. And the image you see in front of the camera, like the dancing woman, is the footage that comes out of the camera. So this, what we see here, is kind of what we would actually see, except that, of course, you see what the camera is seeing, right? This is a side angle, so we see what the camera is seeing. So we have her as the picture from the real camera already placed in the 3D world.
Right. So this is the equivalent of a behind the scenes photo off of that you'd see in a normal set where you've got sound guys and the art team and the actors milling about, and you've got a director and you've got loads and loads of people. But obviously, when you've got a camera on the talent, all you're going to see is that. You're not going to see all of this chaos going around, right? And that's sort of what we're seeing here, right? Great.
Exactly.
Gotcha. Got you.
And there are like 2 ways to accomplish like the compositing of the video, like the real-time compositing, and as well the compositing for the output. And in this example, we have the real 2.5D, like she's really as a 2D plane in the 3D world. That means that she as a layer can interact with the lighting. So
right.
everything in lighting and the atmosphere really happens in front of her. And if we would blank out all the lights, she would be dark as well. So she is actually lit. The 2D plane is actually lit by the environment.
Got you.
Right.
Yeah.
I think
that has the benefit that you can, like the composition is easier. You have less struggle with getting the real lighting or the real color grade. You have fewer steps. It's not perfect, but it's fewer steps.
Got you. Just so I got it right in my head, that means that you're matching the Unreal environment, the 3D environment that you can see in the background. The lighting of that is mirrored with the actual how the talent's lit, and that means that you're not having to go into VFX or post production to try and light things, right? Gotcha.
Right.
Got you.
I got an example for this as well. Let's see if I can play it where you can see it better.
If you go to share.
Yes. There it is.
Maybe there we go.
Yeah, so this is the composition. Maybe I pause it. Yeah, so we are starting with like the green screen. That's what the camera is seeing. Then it's keyed. This is as well what is happening in Unreal Engine in live. Not as good as this, because this is made in DaVinci. But where the real like magic happens, this is now the background. And now we have like the original foreground of the camera and the original background of Unreal Engine. And now the benefit of like mixing or like having her as a 2D plane in the Unreal world and the light interaction is this part. This is where you see this is original and this is the picture in Unreal. Or actually it's mixed, like it's half and half or something. Yeah. This would be like the difference.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then there happens some edge blending. So in the edges, you see that the green disappears a little bit more on her hand.
Yeah.
That's the actual post process.
And is that pre going into DaVinci, or is that
that's after.
That's after, so that you've got the what the camera saw, what you saw as a previs, so that's what you would see on set. I'm assuming. So that's the green one is where you'd that's what the camera sees. Then you got that previs, which has the green sort of slight edging to it, and then you've got the post production one, which is the one that you've taken into DaVinci, which is that one, yeah.
Right. Yeah.
Got yeah. Brilliant. Okay.
So this is kind of what you see in Unreal Engine.
Right. Cool.
Amazing. Right. I'm getting my head around all of this. It's coming clearer every week. Brilliant.
Is there anything else that so I guess was there anything else you wanted to show, Gianni?
Yeah.
Yes.
Actually,
yes.
Please do.
So we had this light show, right?
Mm-hmm.
The party light. Yeah, so you see the lamps in the background above the green screen?
Yes. Are they placed in the same place as the lights in the virtual environment?
Yeah, kind of. So from particular perspectives, they match.
Yeah.
And the most important perspective was the transition between the park and the nightclub.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Because there we really made sure that 2 of the background lanterns are in the exact position as 2 of the lights in the night club. So when they are flashing, like this is the transition.
That's what when I watched it 5 or 6 times, I kept being like, where are the lights? Are the lights in exactly the same place? Yeah.
Yeah, so we programmed the light show in Unreal as well.
Okay.
And I can show you how it looks.
Yeah, do.
So are you saying the lights in the studio will be, and the lights in the virtual world were being controlled by Unreal? Would that be right?
Yeah, right. So this is the sequencer.
Let me just stop that so you can sort of see that. Yeah. Okay, cool.
This is all the keyframes for the light shows. This isn't the way you actually program light shows. Normally you have like a system like Grandma or something which doesn't work with keyframes. But for this, we really needed keyframes. So,
and just for people that don't know what keyframes are, it's a point of time that Unreal and lots of other things does something, right? So it could be move, it can be change color, it can change brightness, it could be loads of different things, but you program that in, right? And I think you can do it with, I think you even do it with PowerPoint these days, kind of thing. But those horizontal lines, those are each of those assets. So it could be a light, it could be a foot, it could be something, I don't know, could be anything that moves. Each one of those is that asset, and every dot along that line is it being told that it has to do something. Is that about right?
Yeah, that's yeah. So it's a value at time, let's say. And if you have 2 keyframes, you can do a transition between 2 values in that time. Yeah, so the keyframes told the lamps in the virtual world what to do, and also on set what to do.
Amazing.
Yeah. And in the post process, we had so the lighting obviously wasn't perfect. The real on set lighting wasn't perfect. Sometimes it has some latency. So we had the possibility to go back into the sequencer, rearrange some keyframes so it really fits onto the frame. And yeah.
And was that in real time? You changed those, as in when you were on set, or did you do that in post?
It was on the post production.
It was on the post production side of things. Gotcha.
Yeah. Cool. So we had the possibility to brighten up some lamps. Yeah. So sometimes, you saw that the edge lighting was white and really, really bright. Then we chose one lamp in the background, turn it on, made it brighter, make it whiter or more orange, so it really fits. And that was the actual biggest part of the post production.
And I guess that's one of the benefits of using green screen, right? Is the fact that because they're on different plates, different layers.
Yeah.
That means that you can update and change the back plate to match the foreground, whereas with other VP technologies, that's pretty difficult to do because it's fully in camera.
Yeah, so it's kind of one of the main key benefits. For example, our world wasn't even finished when shooting.
Okay.
Right. Okay.
Right. Yeah, and we built everything afterwards. Not everything, but almost everything.
Right.
But that's a huge shift from LED, where it kind of has to be done beforehand, right? Because you're shooting it in camera. Yeah. Amazing.
Cool. That's pretty good. Yeah, so we've covered sort of the buildings, and we got that, and you explained about what's seeing in camera, and then we sort of showed that background. Also the lighting you showed. And that was that. There, remind me, is an acronym called DMX. Was it use this? So DMX is a standard for controlling lights normally in live entertainment. And you can either pre-program or you can have a slider, literally, and you choose light 4, and you can make it go up, down, change its color, all sorts of things. And that's the same protocol, right? I'm assuming.
It is.
Yeah. Okay, cool. So that's pretty cool. So it talks to, not only does the camera talk to Unreal in as much as where it is, but Unreal then talks to all the lights, virtual and real, using DMX, this protocol called DMX, right? Gotcha. Cool.
Amazing. That's great. Thank you.
Right. Because we did a test. I don't know if you did it, Gianni, but we did a test once where we had a real light and a virtual light, and we had just this physical slider that we had a little scene, and all it was a spotlight on the back wall, and you slid the slider up and the light got brighter and the spot in the virtual world got brighter. And it was like, at that moment, it was like, oh yeah, that's cool.
What I did was I put a tracker on the one light once, and we moved the light, and then we had like the light moving in the virtual world as well.
In the virtual world as well, right?
That's very exciting.
That is pretty cool, right?
Many possibilities,
right?
It's good to talk about those possibilities, because it is, again, it's that thing that if you don't know it, you don't know it. Do you know what I mean? So that's brilliant.
Was there any other sort of part of the process? So you sort of went into post-production. I think I saw a little video of some other sort of layers that you'd done with some lens flares. Can you remember what video that was called?
Yeah, it's VFX breakdown
one. Let me just pull that one up. Go live. There we go. So just talk us through. Oops, hold on. I need to do it. Put it on a loop.
So this is a better example actually than the video I was showing, because here again you have her in the 3D world, and the lens flares are from the Unreal Engine world.
Okay.
By mixing the original and the Unreal world 2D layers, you can have the lens flares as well.
And in this particular picture, you can really see how that lighting worked as well. The real world lighting, and how then you were able to manipulate the Unreal lighting.
Yeah, right.
In order to be able to do that, which is that looks pretty cool. What was breakdown VFX breakdown 2? What was in that one? Oh, I think that's the one you've shown already, right?
Yeah.
Cool. So we've got that, and then okay. Well, I think probably we could pop off for a break. What I might do is hit that one again.
I was going to say, can we watch it one more time?
Right. Yeah. I think actually we're going to watch it. So this is without the breakdown, and it's got no audio in it. So we're just watching the video for everyone who's sort of listeners. We're just watching it again. She's putting her head on, and I think
she's putting her
headphones on. And I think there are two things that are really striking about this video in my head. All right, I'm going to put it on to repeat. Hold on, I'm going to hit the play button again. Is the camera movement, right? So it's not static.
Yeah.
There's camera movement, and she's in a forest. Then the forest wood actually, and it's in the daytime. Then the first flip is the lighting of the park changes. It doesn't go into the nightclub until the second time she puts on the headphones as well. So it's a really good storyline in as much as it doesn't jump, and you can see the street or the park lamps, the street lamps in the background. They sort of you marry them up really, really well in the nightclub as well.
Yeah.
So part of this process is like, how did you conceptually come up with this? Because we've talked about the technology behind it, Unreal Engine, and in the picture we're seeing at the moment, you can see the leaves moving in the background, right? You can see you look at it and you go, oh, okay, she's definitely in a park, and you could definitely sort of see that. The thing that sort of really jumps out is it's really well lit. It looks like she's there, but the handheld camera sort of movement side of thing really, really works as well. And then this sort of flick between, okay, I'll use the park lights and then duplicate those in the nightclub. Yeah, I mean, it's just a stunning bit of work, Gianni. I've got to tell you. I mean, and I've been doing it for a couple of years, 4 years, right? So, and and I've always thought to myself, once it gets into the hands of someone who gets it, this kind of thing can really, really fly. It's not always about trying to replicate maybe a director or a DOP's or creative's vision of what they want to shoot, and then going, okay, what's the cost benefits or the environmental benefits or the other benefits of either shooting on location or building a set or maybe using virtual production. This is almost unfilmable. In actual fact, it is unfilmable, right? It's completely unfilmable because you can't swap out, suddenly go from a park in the daytime, then suddenly going, I'm doing it. Then going into the nighttime with red flashing lights, and then going, okay, well, I'm back in the park now in the daytime, and then I'm going to a nightclub.
You can't do that without a cut, right? In any other way.
Right, exactly. You'd have it's almost, how would you do it? It's one shot.
It's one shot, right, isn't it, Gianni? So, right. Yeah, creatively, where did you come up with that idea?
Actually, I just wanted to show how a location... So my main work is like I try to get this to my clients, because it's hard to explain what it is. I want to show what it is and what is possible. My mission was to put as many as possible examples into one video. I'm happy how it turned out. It feels like a lucky...
No.
Well, I don't know, right? But what I've experienced, so it's interesting actually, and when you see other people who try to do it, there used to be this phrase at Microsoft, like sometimes when Microsoft tried to be cool, it was like watching your dad dance at a party or a disco. And there's a lot of examples of sort of that kind of thing. I think personally, you look at it and you go, well, there's a creative who gets it, and there's a creative who's who's thinking through the lens of traditional delivery, and then or an engineer, right? And I think that's the difference between what you've been able to produce and it stands heads and shoulders. And the great delivery of having a split screen is also awesome. So I mean, it is really, really good. It really is. You should be absolutely hugely proud of it, man. Honestly, hugely proud of it.
Absolutely.
So we're going to go to a break now, and then come back, and we're going to talk about application, I think. So
perfect.
We're going to hear from our sponsors. Oh, hello. It's a bit quiet in here without an ad, but it doesn't have to be. Maybe you want to reach filmmakers, producers, and creatives who are all about the latest innovations in film, TV, advertising, corporate content, or social media. Got a game-changing tool that saves time and money? A virtual production studio that no one's heard of, but hey, you've got free snacks. Or maybe you just want to remind everyone that you're the best brand out there. Well, this silence, it could be yours. Get in touch at startingpixel.com and let's fill this space with something a little bit more exciting. The Starting Pixel podcast. Why film it any other way? Well, Gianni, that was great. Thank you very much for that breakdown. One of the things Michelle and I were sort of talking about earlier on is sort of real world applications. We had this very brutal way of, when I was in marketing, of when someone came to you with an idea about product, which was like to ask the question, so what? Michelle said to me, that's a bit brutal, Rob. And I said, yeah, no, okay, it totally is.
Rob was like, so why should we care? And I was like, that's brutal. I was like, no. I come from a teaching background.
Right.
And from my teaching background, I would foster and say, kind of, as a producer, as a writer, as a maker, as somebody from an advertising agency, not why should we care, but like, what did we come up with, Rob? What was it? It was kind of, why should we be kind of inspired to use virtual production technology?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think, that was pretty much it. It's like
something like that.
It was like, what are the benefits, I guess?
What are the benefits?
Do you think, and there's no right or wrong answer, right? But what do you think?
Yeah, like I said, everything is possible. You can just copy trees. You have to buy the asset one time, and then you just copy and paste. You can have a whole forest if you want. That's depending on what you are trying to produce. That would be one of the biggest benefits, that you can be wherever you want to be with almost no money.
Don't say that, Gianni.
Shit.
We'll sign you up now.
not talking about money, I suppose, but actually, how long did it take you to create those environments and put those environments together? Because people can then work out what your day rate is, and you can triple it by the sounds of it.
Okay, so I have to be careful what I say now, right?
Do you know what? Yes and no. I think it's really interesting because I think that we all also know that, like, you know, it would take 7 times as long if you were to texture every piece of the environment, every asset that you bought. You know, we know that there's a sliding scale, and this was a test, but in the kind of interest of this being like you experimenting as a test, putting something together as an idea, I'm interested to see how long that took. That's not to say that that's what you do with a client, because, you know, they might need it in 12K and on a cinema screen.
Yeah, so you, like the environment itself didn't really take that long. As I said, the park is already there. It's a downloadable asset. I just had to location scout, and which is actually pretty cool. And
Right.
Location scouting in 3D, when I did that for the first time, I blew my mind because I'm just not a gamer. So I was like, what? I can look around that corner and we can change the time of day. So exciting.
Yeah, if the sun doesn't move, the direction doesn't fit, you can just move the sun around. It's pretty cool.
I know. It's so exciting. So the park was a downloadable asset. Obviously, kind of a usage, there'd be usage right questions if it was for advertising or for other things like that, right?
Yeah. And the I think for the industrial nightclub set, it took me maybe 2 days something to really prep it. And all the rest, like the post-production, was kind of a hand-in-hand work between Unreal and DaVinci, back and forth, because I was still trying to figure out what is the best way. Like there are different programs you could use. You could use like Nuke, for example, which is a compositing program. But my ambition is to like have as few as possible software and as few as possible hardware.
And I mean, DaVinci's free. There is a studio version. Nuke is, I imagine, the licensing for Nuke is just up there. Right?
I know if it depends.
Yeah, sort of depends. Right, okay.
That sort of depends. Yeah, but still, it's like if you have a production, one post-production guy can't be an expert in every program, you know?
Right. Okay.
So if you need DaVinci, you need Unreal Engine, you have to build textures for Unreal Engine, you have to build the lighting in Unreal Engine. There are so many things. Then Nuke as well, it's too much. For me, it's too much. It doesn't sound like it's the way to go for me and for my clients. So I try to do everything in as few as possible steps, as few as possible programs. So I was trying to figure out a way to do the compositing. So it was a back and forth. It took me, I don't want to say it took me half of a year, because that's not true, because I have my jobs, you know.
Yeah.
I worked on it every now and again. For a few months, I didn't even work on it.
Right.
So I think in December, I worked the most on it to finalize it. And really the problems was like the lighting. That was the main. I think if you find the way, which I think I found, future will tell, then it's a pretty fast.
Yeah.
I mean, you're talking days rather than months versus hours, right? I'm assuming. Yeah. Right. Okay. And I think, I mean, that, what really sells it is that in my head is that it's built for purpose. What you created is a great teaser, a great ad, you know, just for the technology. But that could be an ad, right? For something, it could be.
I was thinking it was a shame she didn't have a name on her headphones, because you could probably could you put that in post and get someone to pay some money?
Yeah, to be honest, we it started with doing like just this shot, just this one take, and as like I was working together with creatives, obviously, and you know how it is. You have like one shot and you want more and more and more. So we started thinking about doing a commercial. We shot the product shots. We also shot an ending for this scene.
Okay,
yeah. So the product shots, we didn't move the camera. I don't know why we didn't do it. We had some extra time on set, you know, so we just made some product shots, but we didn't move the camera. So for me, it felt like it's not the way to go.
Right.
Yeah. It's from a different thing, isn't it? Yeah, absolutely.
Interesting. Oh, cool. That sounds, it's brilliant. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you for having me.
No, that's fine. Just to finish off, where can people find you? You know, what's if people want to get in touch, find out more.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, you can reach me via Instagram. I don't know if everything, but I think my website should be listed. Yeah, if not, just message me on Instagram.
Cool. Okay, and we'll put some links in there once it goes out there. We'll put some links in to make sure we can reach you as well. It's been an absolute pleasure. As I said before, it's a really, really good piece. It really, really is. It's super smart. And you can see it. And I think what really impressed me about it is the fact that it looks super simple. And I know you put a lot of it, but it's the vision. It's actually knowing what the tool can do, right? It's pure craft in my head, to be honest with you. And that's what I think a lot of people sort of are leaning into as well. It's like, okay, so people have got to learn the craft. And I think it's you've done a very good job. Well done.
Not only me alone, I have to mention.
That's true. That's a very good point. You had a lot of people working with you as well. So we'll make sure we put those on the episodes as well. Make sure they're all called out. Yeah.
Brilliant. Perfect. Thank you so much, Giovanni. I feel like I've had my little 1 hour of film school, so it's perfect. Thank you.
Well, that was pretty good.
That was great. Like you say, when I watched it for the first time, I was like, it's so simple. But I know how complex it is to do something so simple, and how much technical expertise you need to do that. But the storytelling of it, I just looked and was just like, oh, look, it's all in one shot. It's really beautiful. How have they done it? Yeah, he was great. That was brilliant.
It is. Yeah. It is. I do think it's. I mean, it is sort of a craft, and being able to get the vision once you start to work with it, and the pennies drop. You're able to do that, and the other thing that occurred to me was where he's lent into it, and he's lent into his native sort of language, which is social media. And this is just me, hypothesizing. He could have shot a mini. He could have shot all sorts of things, a really, really high end, type of stuff. And not to say that's not end, but it was built natively for the platform that he ended up getting 300,000 views on, right? Where else would he have been able to get that sort of how else would you have been able to get that level of exposure? Because if he'd done something that was 5 minutes long, or if he'd done something that was even 30, a minute long, it could have looked beautiful.
It's really interesting, isn't it? I've been thinking about this a lot recently. Kind of, there are lots of, there are lots of filmmakers of a certain generation who are like, it's never been easier to make a film. You can do it in your phone. Things are really cheap. And I'm like, yeah, but it still takes a huge amount of time to make a film. We know how long post-production takes. We know how long pre-production takes. If I'm going to shoot for 6 weeks or 19 days, which is the film that Pamela Anderson's just done, they shot it in 19 days. That's amazing. But pre and post takes a huge amount of time. This kind of idea of leaning into going, do you know what? Maybe I can just make 90 seconds and make it brilliant, and kind of look at storytelling over a really short amount of time. And I think that's something to lean into, because I do think that, it's all very well saying anybody can make a film, but along the way, you have to learn to tell your stories. You also have to have the physical time to do that. And that time is money. As a mum with 2 kids and childcare costs, you're just like, yeah, I could make a short or I could make a feature, but actually maybe to test an idea or a technology, we can just go, let's do 90 seconds and let's do that brilliantly.
Well, he sort of had nothing. I guess he also had nothing to lose, right? I mean, that's the other great thing. If it got 10 views,
doesn't matter.
He still would have had the asset that he wanted, but ended up with 300,000. And these are, the other thing is that these are the platforms that people are moving to, right? Right. Yeah. This is, so he's created a story. He's written a story that is native. He's social native. God, this is coming from a guy in his 50s.
I feel old, Rob.
Right. So it's socially native, but the technology, what he's done is he's crafted the story based on what he knew the technology could deliver. And I think that's what really, really jumps out as well. So he knows what he was able to achieve. He knew what he was going to be able to achieve before he, got the crew together, anything like that. He had it in his mind that, yes, I can do this. And if I do this, I can do this, and I can do this.
And this is going to work.
And it's going to work. I know, it's brilliant. I really do. It's one of the best bits of VP I've seen.
Me and my daughter sat and watched it last night about 10 times. And she's 11, and she was kind of going, okay, that's a green screen, and how does that work? And, you know, just beginning to introduce her to the idea of Unreal Engine and, you know, buying assets and making worlds.
Right.
And, you know, she's not there yet, but it is that thing where you just go, okay, it is native. There's a, you know, the idea of not going to university, but being like, I can learn everything I want to. I'm just like, God, it's so true. And if you have the kind of mind that instinctively explores and instinctively wants to learn, which, you know, and develop and grow, then you know, there's different ways of learning your
for sure.
craft, aren't there?
Right. You know, I think I listened to a podcast about what was the guy who directed Hot Fuzz?
Oh, terrible with names. Well, I shouldn't do a podcast. Yeah, I know who you mean. Yeah, I'm going to Google him.
It'll come to me.
It'll come to us, but I'm the wrong person to ask.
Well, he learned his craft by picking up a video camera and just working out how to break things, work it out, and all that kind of stuff as well. So anyway, brilliant. So Michelle.
Edgar Wright.
Edgar Wright. Thank you. That's it. He learned it all that way. He learned it that way. Well done. Michelle, it's a pleasure as ever.
Fabulous. I'm glad to hear it.
Cool.
Thank you, Rob.
All right then.
I will see you soon.
See you next week.
Thanks for listening, tuning in. Bye.